Well, I don't know if Morris ever told you about what happened to me. The night before I graduated from Michigan State, I had tutored a couple football players. So I finished my finals, went to my apartment. No, I went to the bar, had a pizza and a beer at this college bar. I went to my apartment, talked to these two ag students, and my fellow roommate had left the day before. And so I said, well, excuse me, fellas. And I went in and took a shower, got up at 8 o'clock, tried my graduation robe on, went down East Lansing, right where the corner of Michigan Avenue and Grand River. There's a light. And Michigan Avenue runs right into the Capitol. So I was looking down the road, and it's 9 o'clock at night, and I thought I saw this truck I thought coming out of campus. Big deal. So I was fiddling around with my pipe, and I just had about maybe 2 or 3 blocks to go to this party, you know. And I get over this little knoll, and all of a sudden, I see this damn truck, no lights, no flares, parked next to the Meridian, and this contractor, instead of parking behind the apartment building where he was doing the work, he was next to the Meridian. All of a sudden, I looked in my mirror and I said, my God, you know, you can't really switch lanes. And no way in hell you're going to stop. You're going to hit that damn flatbed truck. And I said, well, goodbye. And I just went to the right as far as I could, and I threw myself down on the right floor. And I had a 56 Chevy with a metal dash, and I crushed the side of my face against the dash. And I really probably should have died right then. But a young guy out of med school going home from Lansing Sparrow pulled me out, did a trach, saved my life. And I was in Sparrow 40 days. And this was 9 o'clock at night. And finally, at 1 o'clock in the morning, my brother's in the process of turning off his TV and going to bed. And he gets a call from the hospital. And Morris?
What?
Come tell Todd that call you got from Sparrow.
So where are you?
Well, I was in the hospital dying, and you were going to bed when you got a phone call. And Mother and Dad were out at our cottage. They had no telephone out there, so no one could get a hold of an Andrews.
So there was the phone at the house, our house rang, and at the end of the phone was a doctor who said that Bob had been in a bad accident and that they had been trying to get his mother and father for a couple hours and couldn't find them. And that, did I know where they were? And I said yes. And he said, well, you ought to go pick them up and bring them to Sparrow Hospital in Lansing because Bob was in bad shape and that he might not even live long enough for us to get down there. So I said to him, well, okay, but I need some more information because if I'm going to be in the car with my folks for 2 hours, they're going to ask me a lot of questions, and I can't just say I don't know anything. So, can you give me some information? So, he told me essentially what had happened, and where Bob was, and the general kind of condition he was in. And the thing that today is almost unheard of is this guy was a really young doctor who had been going home, and he stopped and performed a tracheotomy on Bob at the scene of the accident. And he said that Bob wouldn't have lived if he hadn't done that because he'd eaten a whole bunch of pizza, and he probably would have choked to death. So I got in my car.
That wonderful 59 convertible.
Really? And then I went out to the lake and woke my folks up, and it was, I don't know, someplace between 11 and 12 o'clock, and said to them that they needed to pack a bag, and we needed to go to Sparrow Hospital. And as I thought, my mother and dad both just asked question after question. And, you know, I really didn't have all that much information, but whatever information I had, I told them. And when we got to Lansing, Bob was in the hospital, and his head looked like somebody had taken a lawnmower and just run over it, because his head was all covered with blood, and there was lots of
Broken bones.
well, I couldn't see the broken bones, but I could see all the chopped skin, and I couldn't watch it. I couldn't look at it. So after a very short period of time, I had to get out of there. And my mother, we stayed, I think, that was Saturday night, and I think we stayed until sometime late Sunday. And then Dad and I went home, and my mother stayed there and stayed at the house with one of the girls who had lived at the house with my mother and been a student at Ferris. And Bessie, I don't think ever came home. My mother didn't come home until Bob got out of the hospital. I'm sure Ivan took back a bunch of clothes and stuff for her. And Dad and I went home. I mean, I think Robert Scott had somebody looking over him, because the chances of him surviving that, I don't think would be very good, because almost all the concussion was on one side of his head.